I met up with Yvonne from Yvonne's Plants in Hampshire, where she talked to me about her extensive banana collection, as well as some of the other plants that she grows, with many plants for sale at shows and events locally. Yvonne has a good range of plants for sale, from edibles such as chilies and tomatoes and herbs, through to exotic and unusual plants. Talking to Yvonne, it's very clear that she places a great importance on the quality of her product, ensuring all her plants are strong and healthy before they go out for sale, to give the best possible chance of survival for the buyer.
I started growing bananas probably a good 6 years ago now, when I was at a market, and I remember having a customer who I knew, I'd been talking to them for a number of years, and I'd said to them, I grow pretty much anything that you can grow to eat. And then said to me, I bet you can't grow bananas. And I kind of took it as a bit of a challenge to see, can I grow bananas? And as long as you accept the fact that you're not going to be able to grow a banana that you can eat in this country, then yes, you can do. And I started with some of the simple varieties like Ensete Morellii that you can pick up in practically every garden centre. And it just kind of snowballed, and I'm now up to, I think my latest check on the list was I'm at 57 varieties now. They're not all ones that I sell. In terms of what I sell, I probably have anywhere between 15 and 20 different varieties available at any one time. All of them have got their own unique little traits about them that I like. The yellow Papua I like because it's just, you don't very often see any with markings that are quite so pronounced. There's just so many different beautiful things about each of the different varieties. This one I like because although you've got some variegation on the top of the leaf, I think it looks better from underneath because it gives a much more bronze colour to it. And I just think things like that look great. This big tall one here with the red stems, that is Ensete Montbéliardii, which is very similar to the Morellii version that you've probably seen in a lot of garden centres. But it's more like a tall Kate Moss stood next to the usual strongman type one that Morellii is, because it can get as tall, but it is extremely stocky and not so graceful. So just the different growth habits that you see in them. Some varieties have got leaves that will shred very quickly in the wind, whereas others more resistant to strong winds. And even the trunk colours are different, because this one has got a slight white bloom to it. The good giveaway for Musa Florida is the pink edging on the leaf that you then see running down the stem. This one's got quite, in comparison to a lot of others, the leaves are more oval shape rather than longer, and across the tip of them they're a lot more blunt in shape. Again, you've got a slightly yellowy under midrib on it, and just again, you've got quite a sort of glaucous stem. It's a variant of the original Musa velutina, which quite a few people are aware of, but this one is slightly taller, has better markings on the leaves. You can see a bit more red flecks going up through them, and a much more pronounced red stem than the normal velutina. This variety of Brugmansia is a variegated one, and it has a creamy apricot coloured flower on it. But I just really like it because the foliage is so different from the standard green that you get on most Brugs. They need a really good quality soil. They are very, very hungry plants, so they'll need feeding as often as you feed a teenage boy pretty much. They're very thirsty plants as well, and because they can get quite tall, you may well need to think about the wind and whether or not they're going to be blown over in a pot, or if you need to provide them with support so that they don't get trashed by the wind. The actual capers is the immature flower buds before they open. That's how they start. Obviously they get pickled. Those are the flowers when they're open. Now this one's been open for a few days, so it's not going to look perfect, but they're normally a much whiter colour, and then they will die back, and I will end up with potential to get seeds from them. There's a flower bit at the bottom, and this will produce a seed pod up here, And this is how I've grown them. They're all from seed. With the olives, in this country, you are best to consider them as an ornamental plant rather than looking at them as a source for olives to go with your salads and martinis. Although they do produce olives that you can see on there, they'll be small in number and small in size. They're better grown in pots over here than in the ground because you've got better drainage. They don't mind our climate. They are fully hardy. You don't have to protect them over winter. If you have them outside, you can either leave them in situ or you can move the pots to a slightly more sheltered position so they're out of the worst of the wind. You don't need to wrap them at all. They're very hardy. You've got new foliage which always shows as being a much lighter colour on it than the dark foliage. You can either allow them to just grow at will, or if you want to keep them quite compact. And you can see that I've pinched it out here, and I'll allow it to then put out several, because they always branch out from the leaf stems. And then once it's got several leaf joints, I'll pinch it out again, which you can see I've done here. And again, it will branch out. So I pinched it out yet again, and it will branch out further. And what that ultimately does is it makes it have a very, very dense head on the tree. So they'll produce flowers and then fruit at all different stages of the year, hence why you've got some tiny baby fruit, some bigger fruit, and then in the middle here we've got some yellow ones that are almost ready to eat. The yellow fruit won't be ready to eat just yet, and it's the cold that you get over winter here that will actually make the fruit turn yellow. This is a variety called Chinotto. It's used in a lot of Italian drinks. There's a particular one that is called Chinotto. It's also known as the myrtle leaf one because the leaves are very small and similar to myrtle. Bergamos, and these are some of the fruit on them. So they're kind of a bit like a lemon. Bergamos are used in Earl Grey tea, I believe. These are calamondins. You've got variegated foliage, and also on the immature fruit there is a certain amount of stripiness on them. So those are variegated calamondins compared to the plant next to it, which is just an ordinary calamondin. Fruit tastes very similar. I can't remember exactly which ones they are hybrids of, because you often get it whereby this fruit is a hybrid of an orange crossed with this type of lemon and so on. People can buy plants off of me primarily by getting hold of me at farmers markets, garden shows, chili festivals and other events. If you go to my website, which is www.yvonnes-plants.co.uk, or you can just put in Yvonne's Plants on Google and it will always show top of the list. On there, there's an events page which will have a list of when and where you can hunt me down. I'm usually at events anywhere from early April round until September. I'm not an open to the public nursery because I grow all my plants in partly my own garden and also a friend's garden, neither of which is big enough to welcome visitors to. So if there are plants that you want and you can't make it to one of my events, then you can contact me through the website. There's a button on there that says contact me, and you can arrange effectively a doorstep collection. So you message me in advance and you tell me what plants it is that you would like to buy, and I can let you know whether I've got them in stock, and we can arrange a time for you to pop down to me and collect them.
I'd like to thank Yvonne for taking the time out of her busy day to talk to me, and I look forward to talking to her again sometime next year at one of her events, so I can talk to her more about some of those seasonal plants that weren't available today.